Major League Baseball, led by the commissioner, has suspended the great Joe Kelly 8 games for his glorious actions during Tuesday's Dodger win against the Astros. Now, Major League Baseball, a lot of chutzpah on this one. They decided in their wisdom that Kelly intentionally threw in the head area of Alex Bregman. Now, fortunately, Bregman doesn't have a brain, so he was in no danger. They're also upset because Kelly was accused of taunting, even though he was merely responding to that punk Carlos Correa following a strikeout where Kelly schooled Carlos Correa. The minions around Rob Manfred, the commissioner, are trying to justify the move. They claim that Kelly is a repeat offender. Oh, my God, he's a career criminal. Joe Kelly, they're painting him as a career criminal. Now, fortunately, Kelly is appealing, and he will likely win his appeal, but he will still be suspended. It won't be 8 games likely when it's all said and done, but he'll be suspended maybe half of that or more. He was available. He did not get into the game on Wednesday. Another Dodger win. They own the Astros. Ever since the Astros got caught cheating, they can't beat the Dodgers. I don't know how that happened. More on that later. Also, Dodger manager Dave Roberts was also suspended 1 game. He served that in Houston. So let us discuss the question. What are your takeaways from Rob Manfred's harsh punishment of Joe Kelly? Now, I've got the Peter Principle, Law and Order, and Commissioner Maller, the debut of Commissioner Maller. Now, we will tie all these together. Let's start with this. It seems, like Joe Kelly, what he has done here is rip the scab right off for Rob Manfred. It is an open wound, gushing and oozing pus from Rob Manfred. This suspension is so over the top that it deserves every Maller monologue to be about this. One of the 5 most embarrassing moments I have witnessed in my life as a baseball fan and as a radio gas bag is what happened to Joe Kelly. Is everyone at the league office asleep? Are they all dirty? Is every one of them dirty? We are calling for a Rob Manfred war tribunal. All right? Now, does he have some kind of under-the-table, double secret handshake deal with the Astros? Is that what he's got? This is right out of a mob movie. This is like 1980s New York, right? This is Manfred. He's the underboss offering to help cover up the dirty activity. I wouldn't be shocked if there was money being exchanged here. It's so unbecoming for the supposed role of a commissioner, what has happened here. And if the 29 other ball clubs and their owners, of course, Houston is all on board on this, but if any of these people have integrity, they would call an emergency owners meeting, have the gavel, bang the gavel, demand an independent investigation, and consider immediately suspending Rob Manfred from his duties as commissioner of baseball. Who says no? Nobody says no. Anyone want to object? No one's objecting. None of you are objecting, right? Let's call this gutless puke what he is. He's a gutless puke. Call him to the carpet. Imagine when he gets called to the carpet, he'll be tap dancing and they'll have that flop sweat all over his forehead. Listen, Manfred is a Harvard-educated labor lawyer. That's what he is. He's in no business being a commissioner of a sports league. He's a former baseball investigator, and this is the living embodiment of the term Peter Principle. Rob Manfred is the example of the Peter Principle. He started out as a 29-year-old Ivy League guy who was hired by baseball in a labor situation. He kept getting promoted. This is back in the 80s. He kept getting promoted until he reached his highest level of incompetence. And now he's going to remain there for what, till he dies? 32 years he has been getting paychecks to do the business of the baseball world there behind the ivory towers in that Manhattan bubble. Now, part B of this. Baseball has a systemic problem with fairness. Now, maybe they don't care. Maybe they've decided, hey, we're going to be more like Vince McMahon in professional wrestling, and we've got a K-fob going on and all that. But it doesn't appear to be that way, at least among the players and their reactions. But Rob Manfred has compounded one mistake with another one. It's like, I made a mistake, and rather than copping to it, you're like, nah, let me make another one, right? The lesson is staring you right between the eyes. Cheating is fine. You will be given a hall pass if you cheat with Rob Manfred as the commissioner. But if you dare punish any of the players that cheat, you will be sent to Siberia, and you will be tagged a vigilante of baseball. What sense does that make? Baseball's been around since the late 1800s, and as far as I know, as far as I go back, and people when I was a kid would always regale me with stories about on-field justice and teams settling scores, and that it didn't matter if somebody got suspended or not, the players would take care of it on the field. Are we in a totally different Pussy Willow time now where that's outlawed? Even that is, I know everything's changed, and it seems it's trying to change everything, but we've gotten rid of that. An entire roster, and many of them are still on the Astros. Many of the key players, the 2017 Astros, cheated, and Rob Manfred gave them impunity. The guys had reckless disregard for the rules of baseball. They used trash cans, whistles, buzzers, right? Hey, check him for the buzzer, bang, right? Bang. All of that. All kinds of other illicit means to get an unfair advantage with technology. And Joe Kelly, listen, this guy, say what you want about Kelly, he believes more in law and order than the commissioner of baseball, right? Wrap your mind around that one. Kelly throwing some chin music, which didn't even make contact with Bregman, and he gave the pouty lips to Carlos Correa. That's touched a nerve, right? Manfred has been emasculated. He knew he was being emasculated. They follow social media. They pay attention to that. I think a lot of social media stuff's bullcrap, but the people that work at baseball make a big deal about it. Joe Kelly is more of an enforcer than the guy who's actually hired to be the person who upholds the standards and the principles of the sport of professional baseball, which explains the absurd suspension that was handed out. Manfred, the commissioner, he acted here as the getaway driver, right? He's the getaway driver. You don't want to take away that little piece of metal, the championship trophy. You don't want to punish any of the players that cheated. You know what that makes you? You are aiding and abetting criminal activity. That's what you're a co-conspirator is what you are. This is a clumsy and unnecessary punishment. 8 games. Now, it'll be knocked down, but right now it's 8 games of what's left of a 60-game season. At the time of the suspension, there were 55 games left, so double nickels, which is akin to 23.5-game punishment in a 162-game season. Right? He's going to lose $375,000 depending on how the appeal goes, but it is 14.5, almost 15% of what's left of the season. It's over 13% of the full 60-game season. For context on how redonkulous this really is, take a look at the Astros dugout. There's a player still playing for Houston, a racist named Yuli Gurriel, who made that famous gesture during Game 3 of the 2017 World Series. Very offensive to our brothers and sisters in the Asian community. In the dugout, he was caught on camera by Fox making the racist eye gesture. Gurriel was not suspended right away in the World Series. No, they let him play the rest of the World Series. They delayed it, Rob Manfred. He was then eventually suspended 5 games in 2018. At the beginning of the season, when they played 162, that is 3%. Gurriel got a 3% suspension for being a racist on the field in uniform, and Joe Kelly didn't even hit anybody, right? Didn't even hit anybody, and didn't, approach the Astros. He was walking to the dugout. The Astros were actually the aggressor. They couldn't handle the body language. They're such wimps, on the Astros side that they wanted a confrontation. They were the ones that wanted a confrontation. Joe Kelly was walking towards the Dodger dugout. He didn't want that. And he got a suspension of almost 15%. How about this? Rougned Odor. Remember the second baseman for the Rangers. All right? This is one of the great highlights in the last couple of years. Rougned Odor. This guy connected on a roundhouse right, bam, just like that, to the chin of Toronto's Jose Bautista, and he was given an 8-game suspension. He connected on a punch that if Bautista's head had hit the ground the wrong way, could have put him in a coma. You know the drill. When you punch somebody, what can happen when their heads hit the ground? So that he got a less than 5% of the season suspension for actually punching someone in the face at second base. All right, last word. So if Major League Baseball had a legitimate leader, they would not be in this pickle. None of this would have happened. The baseball community has lined up in support of Joe Kelly, and that has really poured jet fuel on top of this for Rob Manfred. Even the umpires, think about how absurd this looks, the suspension. The umpires who were at that game the other night did nothing on the field after Joe Kelly had control issues. I say that in air quotes. Why? Because even the umpires knew, you know what? He didn't hit him. That's fair. Yeah, the Astros deserved it. They deserved it. Take your medicine and call it a day. So here is what Commissioner Maller, I've now appointed myself the commissioner of baseball. Commissioner Maller, here's what I would have done. Here's what I do. I call Joe Kelly. I say, Joe, I know it's social distancing and all that crap, but you got to come to my office. All right? You got to come to my office. I then fine him. Do not suspend him. I fine him a couple of bucks for optics so the softies amongst us are happy. Nobody got hit. The fight that people wanted to happen did not happen. Again, and Kelly walked to the Dodger dugout. He had some gyrations. I loved him. I wish he had done more, right? I wish he had done some more offensive gyrations. I enjoyed all that. But the Astros were the ones that they were approaching the Dodgers. It wasn't the other way around. And so they escalated the situation with their words. So here's the other thing I would do as commissioner. I would then put Joe Kelly on double secret probation. And I would go wink, wink is what I would do, right? And then as I'm done with the meeting as the commissioner and Kelly walks out, I would pat him on the ass and say, good job by you. Good job by you. I couldn't do what you did. I'm glad you did it. And I hope more players do what you did. That's what a real commissioner of baseball should do. Now, meanwhile, equally disgusting are some factions of the baseball media establishment who are carrying the water for Rob Manfred and his incompetence. All right, these toe lickers, now fortunately they're being exposed, many of them. I love old school baseball. I'm glad it's not totally dead. The players have made so much money for so long in baseball, it's pretty much been wiped away. Despite the wussification of everything, at least there's a glimmer. There's a little bit of a glimmer of this still left in the game of baseball, and that is a good thing.